The message arrived without warning. Captain Taman Park stood on the bridge of the UEN Silent Horizon, staring at the holographic display that flickered before him. The symbols were alien, but the translation software worked quickly. Within seconds, the meaning became clear. "Captain, we're being summoned," First Officer Ji-won Kim said from her station. Her voice carried a hint of concern that she tried to hide. "It's from the Velcron Dominion." Taman nodded slowly. He had heard of the Velcrons before. Everyone in the United Earth Navy had. They were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy, or so they claimed. Their empire stretched across hundreds of star systems. They had been traveling through space for thousands of years while humans were still learning to make fire. "What do they want?" Taman asked. Ji-won touched her console and more text appeared. "They're demanding our presence at the Galactic Council. It's an emergency summit. They say it concerns Earth's colonies in the outer sectors." Taman felt his jaw tighten. Earth's colonies were young, barely 20 years old. Humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. They were still new to the galaxy, still learning the rules that other species had followed for millennia. "Do we have a choice?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "The message says refusal will be considered an act of aggression," Ji-won replied. She looked at him with dark eyes that reflected the blue light of the displays. "They're not asking, Captain. They're ordering." Taman walked to the main viewport and looked out at the stars. Space was beautiful out here, far from Earth. The Silent Horizon was on a routine patrol mission, checking on mining colonies in the frontier. Now everything had changed. "Send a message to Earth Command," he said. "Tell them we've received the summons and are proceeding to the neutral zone station." Behind him, Chief Engineer Hyun-woo Lee spoke up from the engineering station. "Captain, if I may ask, are we really going there alone? The Velcrans have hundreds of ships. We're just one vessel." Taman turned to face his crew. Hyun-woo was young but brilliant, one of the best engineers in the fleet. Weapons Officer So-min Choi sat at her station, her hands resting near the controls, ready for anything. Ji-won stood at her post, waiting for orders. They were all looking at him, trusting him to make the right decision. "We go," Taman said firmly. "Earth doesn't back down from diplomatic meetings, no matter how threatening they sound. Besides, this is supposed to be a peaceful summit." "Do you believe that?" So-min asked. She was always direct, never afraid to speak her mind. "I believe we need to find out what they want," Taman replied. "Set course for the neutral zone. Maximum speed." The Silent Horizon turned in space, its engines glowing as it accelerated. The ship was large and bulky compared to most human vessels. Its hull was thick and gray, covered with armor plating that looked old and worn. The design was practical, not beautiful. Where alien ships were sleek and elegant, the Silent Horizon looked like something built in a factory and never polished. That was exactly what Taman wanted them to think. The journey took 3 days. During that time, Taman reviewed everything he knew about the Galactic Council. It was made up of dozens of alien species, each with their own goals and interests. The Velcrans were the most powerful, followed by the crystalline Therians and the gaseous Nevelites. Humanity had been ignored by the Council until now, dismissed as too primitive to matter. "Approaching the neutral zone station," Ji-won announced as they dropped out of FTL. "I'm reading multiple ships, dozens of them." The view screen showed the station ahead. It was massive, a sprawling structure of metal and crystal that hung in space like a small moon. Around it, ships of every design imaginable floated in designated zones. Some were smooth and organic-looking. Others were geometric and sharp. All of them were larger than the Silent Horizon. "Take us in slowly," Taman ordered. "Let's not give them any reason to be nervous." The Silent Horizon approached the station at a careful pace. As they drew closer, Taman could see other ships adjusting their positions. They were watching the human vessel, studying it. He could imagine what they were thinking. "Here comes Earth's representative in a ship that looks like it belongs in a museum." "Captain, I'm receiving multiple scans," someone reported. "At least 15 different vessels are actively scanning our hull and systems." "Let them look," Taman said calmly. "They won't find anything we don't want them to find." Hyun-woo smiled at that. He knew the truth. The Silent Horizon was full of secrets, hidden behind layers of technology that alien scanners couldn't penetrate. But to anyone looking from the outside, it was just an old, slow, weak human ship. "We're being hailed," Ji-won said. "It's the Velcran flagship. Put it through." The view screen changed to show a Velcran commander. He was insectoid, with a hard shell that gleamed under artificial lights. His mandibles clicked together as he spoke, and the translation came through clearly. "Human vessel, you are late. The council has been waiting." "We came as quickly as our engines allow," Taman replied, keeping his voice neutral and polite. The Velcran's compound eyes seemed to study him. "Your ship is primitive. I am Commander Vorath of the Velcran Dominion. I will be overseeing this summit. Follow the designated flight path to Docking Bay 7. The communication ended abruptly. Taman noticed that Vorath had not introduced himself with any respect or courtesy. It was a deliberate insult meant to establish dominance. "He's friendly," Soman muttered. "He thinks we're beneath him," Taman said. "All of them do." "That's fine. Let them think what they want." The Silent Horizon docked at the station without incident. As Taman prepared to leave the ship with a small escort, Hyunwoo approached him privately. "Captain, all systems are ready," the engineer said quietly. "If anything goes wrong, we can activate protocols in less than 10 seconds. "I hope it doesn't come to that," Taman replied. "But it's good to know we're prepared." The docking tunnel connected to the ship with a heavy clang. Taman walked toward the airlock, straightening his uniform. He was about to enter a room full of species who believed humanity was weak and insignificant. They would mock Earth's technology and dismiss its claims to the colonies. They had no idea what they were dealing with. As the airlock opened, Taman took a deep breath. The air from the station flooded in, slightly different from the ship's atmosphere. He could hear voices in the distance, speaking in languages he didn't understand. The translation devices would help, but he knew that words alone wouldn't win this confrontation. He stepped through the airlock and into the station. The corridor was enormous, built to accommodate species of all sizes. Alien beings moved past him, some giving him curious glances, others ignoring him completely. A Velcran guard waited nearby, gesturing impatiently for him to follow. The summit chamber was ahead. Inside that room, the Galactic Council would make their demands. They would expect Earth to surrender, to bow to their superior power and ancient authority. Taman smiled slightly as he walked. They were in for a surprise. The game was about to begin, and humanity had been preparing for this moment far longer than anyone realized. The Silent Horizon sat in its docking bay, quiet and still, looking like nothing more than an old ship in need of repair. But appearances, Taman knew, could be very deceiving. The summit chamber was designed to intimidate. Taman understood that the moment he walked through the massive doors. The ceiling rose hundreds of meters above, disappearing into darkness. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that pulsed with light, casting strange shadows across the floor. At the center of the room, a circular platform held seats arranged in tiers, each one occupied by an alien representative. Taman walked to the single empty seat at the lowest level. It was smaller than the others, positioned so that he would have to look up at everyone else. Another deliberate insult. He sat down calmly, refusing to show any reaction. Commander Vorath stood at a raised podium, his shell reflecting the crystal light. Around him, dozens of alien species watched with varying degrees of interest. Taman recognized some from his studies. The Therians looked like living statues made of crystal, their bodies refracting light into rainbow patterns. The Nevelites were clouds of colored gas contained in transparent suits that roughly resembled humanoid shapes. There were others he had never seen before, some beautiful, some terrifying. All of them looked at him like he was an insect that had wandered into their meeting. "The human has arrived," Vorath announced, his mandibles clicking. "We may begin." A Therian rose from one of the higher seats. The being's voice sounded like wind chimes, translated into words Taman could understand. "I am Counselor Thexra. We have summoned you here to discuss a matter of great importance." "I'm listening," Taman said simply. Thexra's crystalline form shifted slightly. "Humanity has established colonies in 12 star systems within the outer sectors. These systems fall within territory claimed by the Galactic Council." Taman felt his anger rise but kept his voice steady. "Those systems were uninhabited when we arrived. We surveyed them carefully. There were no signs of any existing claims or settlements." "That is irrelevant," Vorath interjected. "The Council has designated those regions as protected zones. Your presence there violates our laws. Laws that we were never told about," Taman pointed out. "Earth only received recognition from the Council 2 years ago. Before that, you ignored all our communication attempts. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Others remained silent, watching. Thexra spoke again. The ignorance of your species does not exempt you from council authority. We have made our decision. Humanity must withdraw from all 12 systems within 30 standard days. Taman leaned forward. And if we refuse? Then the council will take corrective military action, Borath said. There was no mistaking the threat in his words. We will remove your colonies by force and occupy the systems ourselves. You're threatening war, Taman said flatly. We are enforcing galactic law, Thexra replied. Your species is young and inexperienced. You do not understand how things work in this galaxy. We are offering you a chance to comply peacefully. Taman stood up slowly. Every alien eye in the chamber focused on him. He could feel their contempt, their certainty that humanity would fold under pressure. Those colonies are home to 3 million people, he said. Families, children, scientists and farmers and teachers. You're asking us to abandon them. We are not asking, Vorath said. We are telling you. This is not a negotiation. Another alien spoke up, this one resembling a mass of tentacles with multiple eye stalks. Its voice was wet and bubbling. The human should feel grateful we are giving any warning at all. Most species who violate council space are simply eliminated. More sounds of agreement echoed through the chamber. Taman realized that this wasn't a diplomatic meeting at all. It was a show trial. The council had already made their decision before he arrived. They wanted him to witness their power, to carry the message of their superiority back to Earth. I need time to consult with my government, Taman said. You have 6 hours, Vorath declared. Return to your ship and contact Earth Command. When you return, you will deliver their answer. 6 hours isn't enough time for proper deliberation, Taman protested. Vorath's mandibles spread in what might have been a smile. 6 hours is generous. We could simply destroy your vessel and take our answer from your silence. Would you prefer that option? The threat was clear. Taman understood that if he pushed too hard, the Velcrans might attack right now. He needed to get back to the silent horizon and warn Earth about what was happening. 6 hours, he agreed. I'll return with Earth's answer. As he turned to leave, he heard one of the aliens speak to another in a language the translator struggled with. The words came through broken but clear enough. Pathetic creatures. One battlecruiser would destroy their entire fleet. Taman kept walking, his face expressionless. Let them think humans were weak. Let them believe their own propaganda. It would make what came next much more satisfying. The walk back to the silent horizon felt longer than it was. Alien beings stepped out of his way, some with obvious disgust. A few made threatening gestures. The Velcran guards followed him closely, making sure he went straight to his ship without deviating. When the airlock finally closed behind him, Taman felt like he could breathe again. The familiar sounds and smells of his ship surrounded him, comforting and real. Captain, Jiwan hurried over, her face tense with concern. How did it go? As badly as we expected, Taman said. He walked quickly toward the bridge, his officers following. They're demanding we abandon all our colonies. We have 6 hours to agree or face military action. 6 hours? Hyunwoo repeated. That's impossible. We can't even get a message to Earth and back in that time. That's the point, Soman said darkly. They want us to fail. They want an excuse to attack. Taman reached the bridge and immediately opened a secure channel to Earth. The communication would take time to reach home, but he needed to report what was happening. While he waited for the connection to establish, he turned to his crew. How many ships did you count out there? 53 in close proximity to the station, Jiwan reported. Long-range sensors detected at least 200 more within a few hours' travel. The Velcrans have a massive fleet presence in this sector. And they know we're alone, Hyunwoo added. They've been scanning us constantly. They think they know everything about the silent horizon. Taman smiled grimly. What do their scans tell them? Hyunwoo brought up a display showing what alien sensors would detect. Power output at 15% of a standard battlecruiser. Weapon systems appear to be basic kinetic cannons and outdated missiles. Shield strength minimal. Engine efficiency poor. To them, we look like a cargo transport with a few guns bolted on. Perfect, Taman said. The communication channel finally connected. The image of Fleet Admiral Min Ho Kang appeared on the screen. He was an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Captain Park, Min Ho said. We've been monitoring the situation. The Council's demands are unacceptable. I agree, sir, Taman replied. But we're outnumbered at least 50-1, and that's just the ships I can see. Minho was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was hard as steel. The colonies stay. Those are Earth's people, and we don't abandon our own. If the Council wants war, they'll get it. Sir, with respect, one ship can't fight their entire fleet, Taman said. One ship won't have to, Minho replied. The Pacific Fleet is already moving into position. They'll arrive in 72 hours. Until then, you need to buy us time. Taman felt his chest tighten. How am I supposed to do that? Minho's expression didn't change. Show them why we don't start fights, Captain. But make it clear that we always finish them. You have full authorization for Condition Omega if necessary. The words hung in the air. Condition Omega. The protocols that unlock the Silent Horizon's true capabilities. Taman had trained for this scenario but never thought he would actually use it. Understood, sir, he said. One more thing, Captain, Minho added. Make sure they remember this day. Make sure every species in that council understands what it means to threaten Earth. The communication ended. Taman stood in silence for a moment, processing his orders. Then he turned to his crew. You all heard that. We have just over 5 hours before I have to return to the council with our answer. I want all systems checked and ready. Hyunwoo, run full diagnostics on every weapon and defensive system we have. Soman, prepare firing solutions for every hostile ship within range. Jiwon, plot emergency jump coordinates in case we need to retreat. And what will our answer be? Jiwon asked quietly. Taman looked at her, then at each member of his crew. They trusted him. They would follow his orders even if it meant facing impossible odds. Our answer will be no, he said. Earth doesn't negotiate with bullies. If the Council wants our colonies, they'll have to take them by force. And that's going to be much harder than they think. The 6 hours passed too quickly. Taman spent most of that time reviewing tactical data with his crew, making sure every system on the Silent Horizon was ready for what might come next. When the time arrived, he returned to the council chamber with his answer prepared. The aliens were waiting for him. They sat in their tiered seats like judges passing sentence on a criminal. Taman noticed that more aliens had arrived since his last visit. The chamber was now completely full, with species he hadn't seen before crowding the upper levels. Word had spread. Everyone wanted to witness humanity's submission. Captain Park, Vorath began, his voice echoing through the vast space. Have you consulted with your government? What is Earth's answer? Taman stood in the center of the chamber, refusing to show any fear. Earth's answer is no. We will not abandon our colonies. Those star systems were uninhabited when we claimed them. Our people have every right to be there. Silence fell over the chamber. Then slowly sounds began to emerge. Clicking, buzzing, whistling. It took Taman a moment to realize they were laughing at him. Vorath's mandibles spread wide. You refuse? A species that has barely left its own star system dares to refuse the Galactic Council? We're not refusing the Council, Taman clarified. We're refusing an unjust demand. There's a difference. Dexra's crystalline form pulsed with colored light. There is no difference. The Council's word is law. Your refusal is an act of war. Then that's your choice, not ours, Taman replied calmly. We came here in peace. We've tried to follow your rules, even though you never bothered to explain them to us. But we won't give up our people's homes because you've decided to claim territory you've ignored for centuries. More laughter filled the chamber. One of the tentacled aliens spoke up. The human speaks bravely for someone whose ship we could destroy with a single shot. Vorath raised one of his clawed appendages, and the chamber fell silent again. Very well. Since you refuse to comply peacefully, we will demonstrate the consequences of defying the Council. Return to your ship, human. You will witness our power firsthand. Taman felt his stomach tighten but kept his expression neutral. Are you declaring war on Earth? We are teaching you a lesson, Vorath said. Perhaps when you see what we are capable of, you will reconsider your foolish position. The dismissal was clear. Taman turned and walked out of the chamber, feeling dozens of alien eyes watching his back. He could hear them talking as he left, their voices full of confidence and contempt. By the time he reached the Silent Horizon, alarms were already sounding throughout the ship. He ran to the bridge to find his crew at their stations, tension visible on every face. Report, he ordered. Jiwon's fingers flew over her console. Velcran fleet is moving into attack formation. I count 47 ships taking up positions around the station. They're surrounding us, Captain. Taman looked at the tactical display. Red icons representing enemy ships formed a sphere around the station, with the silent horizon at the center. It was a classic encirclement maneuver, designed to prevent escape and maximize firepower concentration. What are their weapon systems showing? He asked. Salmon checked her readings. Plasma cannons charging. Shield arrays at full strength. They're preparing to fire but waiting for orders. They want us to see this, Hyunwoo said from his station. They want us to be afraid. Are we detaching from the station? Jiwon asked. Taemin nodded. Release docking clamps. Take us out slowly. No sudden moves. Let's not give them an excuse to fire early. The silent horizon separated from the station with a series of metallic clangs. The massive vessel drifted into open space, its engines barely glowing. To the Velkran fleet, it must have looked like a wounded animal trying to escape a pack of predators. A transmission came through on all channels. Commander Vorath's face appeared on every screen throughout the ship. Humans, you are about to witness the power of the Velkran Dominion. This is what happens to species who defy the Galactic Council. Watch and learn. The transmission shifted to show readings from Velkran sensors. They were broadcasting their analysis of the silent horizon for everyone to see. The data scrolled across the screen, and Taemin read it with grim satisfaction. Human vessel power output at 15% of standard battlecruiser capacity. Shield strength negligible. Weapon systems primitive and outdated. Hull armor thick but composed of simple alloys. Engine efficiency poor. Estimated combat effectiveness minimal. The report concluded with a simple statement. This vessel poses no significant threat. Taemin heard Hyunwoo chuckle despite the tense situation. They really believe their own scans. Let them, Taemin said quietly. Salmon, what's our actual combat readiness? All primary systems at 98%, she reported. We can go to full power in less than 10 seconds. Hold position, Taemin ordered. Let's see what they do next. The Velkran fleet moved with practiced precision. Ships that were each 3 times the size of the silent horizon glided into a tighter formation. Their hulls were organic-looking, covered in what appeared to be living armor that could regenerate damage. Weapon ports glowed with building energy. Another transmission came through. This time it was a Velkran officer Taemin hadn't seen before, identified as Tactical Commander Zeth. Human vessel, you are completely surrounded. Our fleet consists of 47 battlecruisers, each more powerful than your entire navy. Surrender now and we will allow you to leave alive. Refuse and we will destroy you. Taemin activated his communication channel. This is Captain Taemin Park of the United Earth Navy. We will not surrender. If you attack us, you will be responsible for starting a war. Zeth's mandibles clicked in amusement. A war? You cannot fight a war with one ship. You will be destroyed in seconds, then why haven't you fired yet? Taemin asked calmly. The question seemed to catch Zeth off guard. There was a pause before he responded. We are giving you one final chance to reconsider. The Council is merciful to those who submit. We're not submitting, Taemin said, and I'm giving you one final chance to stand down. Leave this system and let us return to Earth peacefully. This doesn't have to end in violence. The response was laughter broadcast across all Velkran ships. Taemin could hear dozens of alien voices mocking his warning. Captain, Jiwon said urgently, long-range sensors show more ships approaching. It looks like other Council species want to watch the show. We're going to have an audience. Taemin nodded. Good. Let them watch. Let them all see what happens when they underestimate humanity. Vorath's voice came through again. Your bravery is admirable, human, but also foolish. We will now demonstrate why the Velkran Dominion rules this sector. All ships charge weapons. Prepare to fire on my command. The space around the silent horizon lit up as energy weapons powered to full capacity. 47 battlecruisers, each bristling with enough firepower to level a city, aimed their weapons at the single human ship. Taemin looked at his crew. Jiwon was calm but tense, her hands steady on the navigation controls. Hyunwoo monitored his engineering displays with intense focus. Solman's fingers hovered over the weapon systems, ready to act in an instant. This is it, Taemin said quietly. Remember your training. Trust in the ship. Trust in each other. Should we activate defensive systems? Hyunwoo asked. Not yet, Taemin replied. Let them think they have us. Let them commit fully. Soman, do you have firing solutions on all targets? Every single one, Captain, she confirmed. The tactical AI has been tracking them since they took up positions. Good. Jiwan, emergency jump coordinates ready? Plotted and ready to execute, she said. Taman took a deep breath. This was the moment that would define everything. In the next few minutes, the galaxy would either learn to respect humanity, or Earth would lose its first ship in an interstellar war. Vorath's voice echoed one more time. Any last words, human? Taman activated his communication channel, making sure his message would be recorded and broadcast to every ship in the area. What he said next would be heard by dozens of alien species, analyzed and discussed across the galaxy. Yes, I have last words, Taman said clearly. We came to your council in peace. We answered your summons honestly. You chose to threaten us instead of talking to us. You surrounded us with your fleet and mocked us for being weak. You think you know everything about our ship because your sensors tell you we're primitive and helpless. He paused, then continued with absolute certainty in his voice. You're wrong. You've made a terrible mistake. And in about 60 seconds, you're going to realize just how wrong you are. Final warning. Stand down now or face the consequences. The laughter that followed was deafening. Alien voices from dozens of ships joined in the mockery. The human captain, trapped and surrounded, was still trying to threaten them. It was the funniest thing they had heard in years. Fire, Vorath commanded. 47 battlecruisers opened fire simultaneously. Space itself seemed to tear apart as concentrated energy weapons and plasma bolts converged on the silent horizon from every direction. Taman spoke 2 words. Condition Omega. The transformation of the silent horizon was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The moment Taman spoke those 2 words, the ship came alive. Hull panels that had seemed permanently fixed suddenly slid apart with mechanical precision. What the aliens had thought were decorative lines on the hull were actually seams concealing weapon ports. Dozens of them opened simultaneously, revealing arrays of cannons and launch tubes that had been invisible moments before. The ship's energy signature, which Velcran sensors had read as weak and minimal, suddenly exploded to levels that made their instruments scream warnings. Power output jumped from 15% to 200% in less than 3 seconds. The reactor core hidden deep within the ship's heart unleashed energy that made the silent horizon shine like a small star. Commander Vorath watched from his flagship as the human vessel changed before his eyes. His mandibles clicked in confusion and growing alarm. What is happening? He demanded. Zeth, report. Tactical Commander Zeth stared at his displays in disbelief. Sir, the human ship's readings are changing. Power output is increasing exponentially. I'm detecting weapon systems we didn't know existed. Their shields are coming online and their readings stronger than our own. That's impossible, Vorath said. Recalibrate the sensors. There must be an error. I've recalibrated 3 times already, Zeth replied, his voice rising in pitch. Sir, these readings are accurate. That ship is not what we thought it was. The Velcran plasma bolts and energy beams reached the silent horizon in a wave of destructive force that should have vaporized any ship. Instead, they hit an invisible barrier 50 meters from the hull and simply stopped. The defensive grid absorbed the incoming fire, breaking down the energy weapons into harmless particles that scattered into space like fireflies. Point defense lasers activated across the human ship's hull. These were not the primitive weapons the aliens had expected. They were precision instruments that could track and target incoming projectiles at speeds that made conventional defense systems look like toys. Missiles and physical rounds launched by the Velcran fleet were intercepted and destroyed before they could get within 100 meters of the silent horizon. Taman watched the defensive display with satisfaction. Not a single enemy shot had touched his ship. Shields holding at 97%, Hunwu reported. His voice was steady, but Taman could hear the excitement underneath. All weapon systems online and ready to fire. Reactor stable at full power. Captain, Jiwan said, her eyes wide as she looked at the tactical screen. They've stopped firing. I think they're confused. Indeed, the Velcran fleet had ceased their attack. 47 battlecruisers floated in space, their captains trying to understand what had just happened. They had thrown everything they had at the human ship. It should have been destroyed instantly. Instead, it sat in the middle of their formation, completely undamaged, glowing with power. Taman activated his communication channel. Commander Vorath, this is your second warning. Stand down now and leave this system. You've seen our defensive capabilities. You don't want to see our offensive ones. Vorath's response was filled with anger. Deception. You used some kind of trick to fool our sensors. We didn't fool anything, Taman replied calmly. Your sensors showed you exactly what we wanted them to see. You assumed we were weak because we looked old and slow. That was your mistake, not ours. The truth was beginning to dawn on the Velcron commander. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of stress in his species. What are you? Taman smiled, though Vorath couldn't see it. We're humans. We've been fighting wars since before your species invented the wheel. We spent 200 years developing weapons technology before we ever left our solar system. Every nation on Earth contributed their most destructive innovations to our Navy. And you know what we learned from all those centuries of war? He paused, letting the question hang in space. We learned that the best weapon is the one your enemy doesn't know you have. We learned that looking weak can be more valuable than looking strong. We learned that a fight avoided is better than a fight won. But most importantly, we learned how to win when fighting becomes unavoidable. Another voice broke into the communication channel. It was Counselor Thexra broadcasting from the station. This is outrageous. You came to a diplomatic meeting with a warship disguised as a cargo vessel. Actually, Jiwan spoke up, her voice carrying over the open channel. The Silent Horizon is classified as a scout frigate. It's one of our smaller vessels. The real warships are much bigger. The silence that followed was deafening. Taman wanted to smile at Jiwan's perfectly timed revelation, but he kept his face serious. This was the moment when the aliens would make their choice. They could accept that they had been wrong and retreat, or they could let their pride push them into a fight they couldn't win. Vorath made his decision. All ships, reform attack pattern, target the human vessel's engines and reactor, maximum firepower. Captain, Somin said urgently. They're charging weapons again. This time they're coordinating their fire to hit specific weak points. Are there any weak points? Taman asked. Hyunwoo checked his displays. Not that they can target. Our armor is reinforced titanium tungsten composite with ceramic underlayers. Even if they get through our shields, their weapons will barely scratch it. They're firing, Jiwan announced. The second attack was more focused and intense than the first. The Velcron fleet concentrated their fire on the Silent Horizon's engine section, trying to cripple the ship's ability to maneuver. Energy beams and plasma bolts hammered against the shields in a storm of destructive force. The shields held. The Silent Horizon's defensive grid was designed by engineers who had studied every major battle in human history. They had learned from tank armor, naval defense systems, and atmospheric fighter tactics. The result was a defensive technology that adapted in real time, redistributing shield strength to reinforce areas under attack while maintaining coverage everywhere else. Shields at 86%, Hyunwoo reported, regenerating at 15% per minute. At this rate, they could fire for an hour and never break through. Taman nodded. They're starting to understand. Somin, are you ready? Weapons Officer Somin Choi had been preparing for this moment since Condition Omega was activated. Her displays showed firing solutions for every enemy ship, calculated by the tactical AI and refined by her own experience. Ready, Captain, she said. Waiting for your order. Taman thought about Admiral Minho's instructions. Show them why we don't start fights, but make it clear we always finish them. This wasn't about destroying the Velcron fleet. It was about sending a message to every species in the galaxy. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was a predator that had chosen to be peaceful. But when peace was no longer an option, humanity knew exactly how to fight. Target their weapons systems only, Taman ordered. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Show them we could kill them, but choose not to. Make it very clear that we're being merciful. Understood, Captain, Somin replied. Her fingers moved across the controls with practiced efficiency. Firing solution locked. Railguns ready. Fire. The Silent Horizon's concealed weapon ports had revealed more than just gun barrels. They had exposed the business end of humanity's most effective kinetic weapons. Railguns perfected over decades of research and testing, capable of accelerating projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed. The tungsten rods were not large, each one barely a meter long and 20 centimeters wide, but when accelerated to 3% of light speed, they carried kinetic energy that made nuclear weapons look weak by comparison. The rods launched in silence, invisible to the naked eye. They crossed the distance to the nearest Velcron battlecruiser in a fraction of a second. The alien ship's regenerating organic armor and powerful shields might as well have been paper. The first projectile punched through the ship's shields without slowing down, drilled through the hull armor like it was made of soft clay, and destroyed the ship's main plasma cannon in a burst of molten metal and venting atmosphere. The force of the impact sent the battlecruiser spinning, its captain fighting to regain control. 5 more rounds followed in rapid succession, each one targeting a different ship. 6 Velcran battlecruisers suddenly found themselves crippled, their weapons offline, their crews scrambling to respond to catastrophic damage. 6 targets disabled, Soman reported calmly. 0 casualties according to life sign sensors. Reloading for next salvo. The Velcran fleet's formation broke apart in panic. Ships that had been confident and aggressive moments before now scrambled to increase distance from the human vessel. Their organic armor, which could regenerate from energy weapon damage over time, was completely useless against kinetic impact. The tungsten rods had simply torn through everything they touched. "They're trying to retreat," Jiwon observed. Taemin watched the tactical display. The aliens were learning, but they hadn't learned enough yet. They still thought in terms of conventional space warfare, where ships exchanged fire at long range and victory went to whoever had more numbers or better shields. They didn't understand that humanity had spent centuries perfecting the art of war. Earth had nuclear weapons before it had space travel. Humans. Commander Vorath stared at the human captain on his display screen. His compound eyes processed information quickly, analyzing the situation from every angle. He was a military commander with decades of experience. He had fought in campaigns against dozens of species. He had never lost a battle, but he had also never faced an enemy like this. The humans had turned what should have been an easy victory into a humiliating disaster. 6 of his battle cruisers were crippled. His fleet was in disarray, and the single human ship sat in the middle of his formation, completely unharmed. The smart decision would be to retreat, to regroup and return with overwhelming force, but Vorath's pride would not allow it. He could not return to the council and admit that one human vessel had defeated his fleet. The shame would be unbearable. "No," he said finally, his mandibles clicking with determination. "We will not retreat. You may have surprised us with your hidden weapons, but you are still only one ship. We are 47. Even if you destroy half our fleet, the rest will tear you apart." Taemin's expression did not change. "Commander, please don't do this. You've seen what we're capable of. You've lost 6 ships already. Don't make me destroy the rest." "You are bluffing," Vorath said. "Those kinetic weapons must take time to reload. Your reactor, no matter how powerful, cannot sustain continuous fire for long. We will overwhelm you with numbers." "I'm not bluffing," Taemin said quietly. "And my weapons officer has already reloaded. We can fire again right now." Vorath hesitated. What if the human was telling the truth? But no, it was impossible. No ship could maintain that kind of firepower without significant cooldown time. The human was trying to intimidate him into retreat. "All ships," Vorath commanded, broadcasting to his entire fleet. "Ignore the disabled vessels. All remaining units focus fire on the human ship. Maximum aggression. Do not give them a chance to fire again. Attack." 41 battlecruisers charged forward, abandoning all defensive caution. Their plasma cannons glowed with building energy. Missile tubes opened along their hulls, ready to launch devastating warheads. The Velcrans were betting everything on a single overwhelming assault. Taemin sighed. He had given them every chance to walk away. Now he had no choice. "Summon," he said calmly. "Full counterattack. Disable as many as you can. Jiwon, evasive pattern alpha. Hyunwoo, redirect all excess power to weapons." "Acknowledged." All 3 officers responded simultaneously. The silent horizon moved. It did not maneuver like a normal ship, slowly turning and adjusting course with thruster burns. Instead, it seemed to simply change direction without acceleration, using its gravity manipulation drives to alter its vector instantly. The effect was shocking to watch. One moment the ship was stationary. The next it was moving at high speed in a completely different direction, leaving the Velcran targeting solutions completely useless. Energy beams and plasma bolts passed through empty space where the human vessel had been milliseconds before. "How are they moving like that?" Zeth screamed from the tactical station on Vorath's flagship. "That's impossible. You can't change direction without building velocity first." "Clearly they can," Vorath said through gritted mandibles. "Compensate. Predict their movements." But predicting the unpredictable was impossible. The silent horizon danced through the Velcran formation like a fighter craft instead of a capital ship. It was there, then it was gone, then it appeared behind a different group of enemies. The human ship violated every principle of Newtonian physics that the aliens understood. What they did not understand was that humanity had mastered gravity manipulation decades ago. The technology was still experimental in large-scale applications, but it worked perfectly for military vessels. By creating localized gravity fields, the Silent Horizon could effectively fall in any direction it chose, achieving acceleration and maneuvers that conventional engines could never match. And while the aliens struggled to target the moving vessel, So-Min Choi was doing her job with deadly efficiency. The railguns fired again and again. Each shot was calculated with precision, targeting specific systems on specific ships. A plasma cannon here, a shield generator there, an engine cluster on another vessel. The tungsten rods struck with such force that they not only destroyed their targets but sent shockwaves through the entire ship structure, damaging systems dozens of meters away from the impact point. Within 90 seconds, 12 more Velcran battlecruisers went dark and drifted helplessly. Their crews were alive, but their ships were dead in space, systems shattered by kinetic impacts they had no defense against. "This is impossible," Vorath shouted, watching his fleet fall apart. "How can one ship do this?" The answer, though he did not know it, was simple. Humanity had spent centuries studying warfare. Every conflict, every battle, every tactical innovation had been analyzed, recorded, and improved upon. The railguns were based on electromagnetic artillery concepts from the 20th century, refined with 22nd century material science. The gravity drives came from theoretical physics that Earth scientists had pursued, while still confined to their home planet. The defensive shields combined ideas from dozens of different fields, from plasma containment to quantum field theory. The Silent Horizon was not just a ship. It was the culmination of human military innovation spanning hundreds of years, and it was not even the most powerful vessel humanity had built. "Captain," Ji-won called out as she guided the ship through another impossible maneuver. "I'm detecting energy buildup from the Velcran flagship. They're charging something big." Taemin checked the tactical display. Vorath's ship was indeed building up a massive energy signature, far larger than anything they had seen before. "It's their main cannon," So-Min said, her voice tense. "Intelligence reports say Velcran flagships carry planet bombardment weapons. He's going to try to hit us with everything he has. Can our shields handle it?" Taemin asked. Hyunwoo ran calculations quickly. "Unknown, sir. We've never been hit by a weapon that large. Theoretically, yes, but if there's any flaw in the shield matrix, we could take serious damage." Taemin made his decision in seconds. "We can't take that risk. So-Min, target the Velcran flagship's main weapon. Destroy it before they can fire." "Yes, sir," So-Min replied. Her fingers flew over the controls. Firing solution locked. "This will require multiple rounds to penetrate their flagship-class armor." "Do it," Taemin ordered. The railgun spoke again, but this time the target was different. The tungsten rods streaked across space toward Vorath's massive flagship. The first round hit the ship's shields and shattered them completely. The second and third rounds punched through the thick hull armor. The fourth round found what it was looking for and struck the charging main cannon directly. The result was catastrophic. The energy that had been building up in the weapon had nowhere to go. It exploded inside the ship, venting plasma and atmosphere into space. The flagship's bow section crumpled from the internal detonation, and the massive vessel began to list to one side, its systems failing across multiple decks. "Flagship is heavily damaged," So-Min reported. "Main weapon destroyed. They're venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. Life support is failing in forward sections." Taemin felt no satisfaction from the destruction. He had not wanted this fight, but Vorath had forced his hand. "Hail them," he ordered. The communication channel was filled with alarms and shouting. When Vorath's face appeared, it was clear he was injured. Green blood leaked from a wound on his shell and his mandibles moved weakly. "Had enough?" Taemin asked simply. Vorath looked at him with what might have been respect mixed with hatred. "You could have destroyed us all by now. Why haven't you?" "Because we're not monsters," Taemin said. "We don't want to kill you. We never did. All we wanted was to be left alone to live peacefully in our own colonies. You're the ones who demanded we surrender them. You're the ones who attacked us. We're just defending ourselves." The Velcran commander was silent for a moment. Then he spoke quietly. "What are you going to do now?" Taemin looked at the tactical display. 18 Velcran battlecruisers were disabled or heavily damaged. The rest of the fleet had fallen back, no longer aggressive but not yet retreating. They were waiting to see what the humans would do next. "I'm going to give you one more chance," Taman said. "Order your fleet to stand down. Rescue your damaged ships and their crews. Then leave this system and don't come back. If you agree to this, the fighting stops right now." "And if I refuse?" Vorath asked. Taman's voice became cold. "Then I stop being merciful. I've disabled your ships. I could just as easily destroy them. 29 battle cruisers against one human frigate. Want to see how that fight ends?" Vorath stared at him for a long moment. The Velcran commander was many things, but he was not stupid. He had seen what the human ship could do. He had lost nearly half his fleet in less than 10 minutes. If the fight continued, he would lose everything. "Stand down," he said finally, broadcasting to all his ships. "All vessels cease fire. Rescue operations only. We are withdrawing from the engagement zone." The Velcran fleet immediately stopped attacking. Ships moved to assist their damaged companions, extending tractor beams and sending rescue shuttles. The energy signatures across the fleet dropped as weapons powered down. The Velcran fleet was trying to retreat. Their damaged ships limped through space while the functional ones provided cover. Commander Vorath's flagship barely held together, its hull breached in multiple places, atmosphere leaking into the void. The proud commander who had threatened Earth now struggled just to keep his crew alive. Taman watched from the bridge of the silent horizon. Part of him wanted to let them go. The battle was over. The message had been sent. But another part of him understood something crucial. If the Velcrans escaped intact, they would return. They would bring reinforcements. They would come back with hundreds of ships instead of 50. "Captain," Jiwan said, breaking into his thoughts, "should we let them leave?" It was a good question. Taman looked at his tactical display. 29 Velcran ships remained functional, though many were damaged. They were beginning to form up into a retreat formation, preparing to jump to faster-than-light speed. "Summon," Taman said quietly. "If they jump away, how long before they can return with reinforcements?" Soman checked her calculations. Their nearest major base is 4 days away at FTL speeds. They could return with a much larger fleet within a week, and our Pacific fleet won't arrive for another 3 days, Jiwan added. "If the Velcrans return with massive reinforcements before our fleet gets here, they could overwhelm this sector." Taman nodded slowly. The decision was becoming clear. He could not allow the Velcrans to escape and regroup, not when it would endanger human colonies and potentially start a larger war. He needed to end this now completely. "Hyunwoo," he said, "do we have the FTL interdiction field ready?" The engineer's fingers moved quickly over his console. "Yes, sir. The gravitational anomaly generator is fully charged. We can create an interdiction field that will prevent any FTL jumps within 50,000 kilometers." "Activate it," Taman ordered. "Don't let any of them escape." The silent horizon's hull shimmered as the interdiction field deployed. It was invisible to the naked eye, but every ship's sensors could detect it immediately. The field created a localized distortion in spacetime that made faster-than-light travel impossible. Any ship trying to engage their FTL drives would simply fail, their engines unable to create the necessary quantum tunnels. Aboard the Velcran ships, alarms began sounding. Tactical officers reported the same thing across the fleet. FTL systems were offline. They were trapped. Commander Vorath, still bleeding from his injuries, stared at his displays in disbelief. "They can block FTL travel? How is that possible?" Zeth, his tactical officer, shook his head. "I don't know, sir. This technology is beyond anything in Council records. The humans must have developed it independently." "Hail the human ship," Vorath ordered weakly. "Now." When the communication channel opened, Taman's face appeared on the Velcran screens. His expression was calm but firm. "Commander Vorath," Taman said, "I can't let you leave. We surrendered." Vorath protested, his mandibles clicking in distress. "You said the fighting would stop if we stood down." "I said the fighting would stop," Taman agreed. "But I never said you could leave. You came here with 50 ships to destroy one human vessel. You attacked us without provocation. You threatened to obliterate us. Did you really think I would just let you go back to your base and return with more ships?" The Velcran commander's eyes widened as he understood the trap he had fallen into. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to make absolutely certain you can't threaten us again," Taman said. Salmon, deploy quantum torpedoes. Target the engines of every functional Velcran ship. I want them completely immobilized. Yes, Captain, Salmon replied. Quantum torpedoes were one of humanity's most sophisticated weapons. Unlike conventional missiles, they used quantum entanglement to phase through shields and physical barriers. The warheads existed in a superposition state until the moment of detonation, allowing them to pass through solid matter as if it were not there. The torpedoes launched from concealed tubes along the silent horizon's hull. To the Velcrons, they appeared as small glowing spheres that moved through space at moderate speeds. The aliens tried to shoot them down, but their weapons passed right through the torpedoes without effect. They're not stopping, a Velcran captain shouted over the fleet channel. Our weapons can't hit them. The torpedoes reached their targets and phased into the ship's hulls. A moment later, they detonated inside the engine rooms of 29 Velcron vessels simultaneously. The explosions were precisely calibrated, large enough to completely destroy the FTL drives and main engines, but small enough to leave the rest of the ship intact. In less than 10 seconds, every remaining functional Velcran ship lost propulsion. They drifted helplessly, unable to maneuver or escape. Vorath watched in horror as his entire fleet was rendered powerless. You've crippled us all. We're helpless now. Yes, Taman said simply. That was the point. Jiwan, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we need transport ships and a security fleet. We have 50 Velcran battlecruisers that need to be towed back to human space. You're taking our ships? Vorath demanded. We're confiscating them, Taman corrected. You attacked Earth territory and threatened our colonies. These ships are now prizes of war. Your crews will be returned to the Galactic Council unharmed, but your vessels belong to us now. The implications were staggering. 50 Velcran battlecruisers represented a significant portion of their sector fleet. Losing them would severely weaken Velcran power in this region. More importantly, it would give Earth access to alien technology that could be studied and potentially reverse-engineered. The Council will never accept this, Vorath said. The Council will accept whatever we tell them to accept, Taman replied coldly. Because right now they're watching. Every species that sent observer ships to watch our destruction is instead seeing their mighty Velcran fleet completely defeated by one human vessel. He was right. Dozens of alien ships still lingered at the edges of the battlefield, their crews recording everything. The data they gathered would spread across the galaxy within days. Everyone would know what happened here. Captain, Jiwan spoke up. I'm receiving a transmission from one of the observer ships. It's a Therian vessel. Counselor Thexra wants to speak with you. Taman nodded. Put it through. The crystalline form of Thexra appeared on a secondary screen. The counselor's body was pulsing with colors that Taman's translation software interpreted as agitation and concern. Captain Park, Thexra said, the voice like wind chimes. What you have done here today will have consequences. I'm aware, Taman replied. The consequence is that Earth will keep its colonies. The consequence is that the Galactic Council will learn to respect us. The consequence is that no one will ever again mistake human patience for human weakness. You have destroyed a council fleet, Thexra said. I disabled a council fleet that attacked me first, Taman corrected. There's a difference. Commander Vorath fired on a human vessel in what was supposed to be a neutral zone. He violated every principle of diplomatic immunity. I was completely within my rights to defend myself. Thexra was silent for a moment. The crystalline being's colors shifted through patterns that suggested deep thought. The Council will want to discuss this matter. I'm happy to discuss it, Taman said. But the discussion will be between equals now. Earth is not some primitive species you can push around. We're a sovereign power with advanced technology and the will to defend ourselves. If the Council wants peace, we're willing. If they want war, well... He gestured at the disabled Velcran ships floating around them. You've seen what happens. This is not over, human, Thexra said. No, Taman agreed. It's just beginning. But it will end the way we choose, not the way you dictate. The transmission ended. Taman turned back to his crew. They had been quiet during the exchange, but he could see the mixture of pride and concern on their faces. Captain, Hyunwoo said carefully, we've made some powerful enemies today. We made those enemies the moment we refused to abandon our colonies, Taman replied. At least now they know we can back up our refusal with force. Salmon checked her displays. All Velcran ships are completely disabled. No threats detected. Should we stand down from combat readiness? Not yet, Taman said. Maintain full alert status until our reinforcements arrive. Jiwan, how long until the Pacific Fleet gets here? Admiral Minho reports they're pushing engines to maximum. They can arrive in 60 hours instead of 72. Taman nodded. Good. In the meantime, we wait. Hyunwoo, I want damage reports from all our systems. Soman, maintain targeting locks on every Velcran ship just in case any of them try something stupid. What about the crews on those ships? Jiwan asked. Some of them are running out of air from the hull breaches. It was a fair question. Despite everything, Taman had no desire to see the Velcron crews suffocate. They had been following orders, and many of them had probably never wanted this fight. Broadcast an offer, Taman said. Any Velcron ship in critical condition can request emergency assistance. We'll provide oxygen and medical supplies, but they stay where they are. No tricks. Yes, sir, Jiwan said, transmitting the offer. Within minutes, responses came in. 3 Velcran ships were in desperate need of life support. Their captains swallowed their pride, and the Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from hundreds of species argued, shouted, and demanded answers. Holographic displays showed footage of the battle from multiple angles, captured by the observer ships that had witnessed the Velcron fleet's defeat. Counselor Thexra stood at the central podium, trying to restore order. The crystalline being's body pulsed with frustrated colors as voices overwhelmed the chamber. Silence, Thexra commanded, the wind chime voice amplified to painful levels. We must discuss this situation rationally. The noise gradually died down. Representatives returned to their seats, though the tension in the air remained thick. The human vessel has defeated an entire Velcran sector fleet, Thexra announced, stating what everyone already knew. 50 battlecruisers are now disabled and under human control. Commander Vorath has filed an official report detailing what occurred. A holographic projection of Vorath appeared. The Velcran commander looked diminished, his shell cracked, his mandibles moving weakly. He had been treated by human medical teams and evacuated from his damaged flagship. I underestimated them, Vorath said, his voice carrying across the chamber. We all did. The human ship appeared primitive by our standards. Our sensors detected weak power signatures and outdated weapons. It was a deception. Explain, demanded a Nevelite representative, the gaseous being's form swirling with agitation. The humans deliberately designed their ships to appear less advanced than they are, Vorath continued. They hid their true capabilities behind false sensor readings and outdated-looking hulls. When we attacked, their ship transformed. Weapon ports we hadn't detected opened across the hull. Their power output increased by more than 10 times. Their technology is not primitive. It's sophisticated in ways we never anticipated. Murmurs spread through the chamber. This was deeply disturbing news. The Council's power rested on the assumption that they understood alien capabilities. If humans could hide their true strength so effectively, what other species might be doing the same? What weapons did they use? Asked a reptilian representative from the Dravix Collective. Kinetic projectiles accelerated to near light speed, Vorath replied. Our shields and regenerating armor were useless against them. The impacts carried energy equivalent to nuclear detonations. They also used something called quantum torpedoes that phase through matter, and they have gravity manipulation technology that allows impossible maneuvers. The chamber fell silent. These were not the weapons of a primitive species. These were the weapons of a civilization that had spent centuries perfecting the art of war. How did one ship defeat 50? Another counselor asked. Speed, precision, and ruthless efficiency, Vorath said. They targeted our weapons first, crippling our offensive capability. Then they disabled our engines, removing our ability to escape or maneuver. They could have destroyed us all but chose not to. That is perhaps the most terrifying part. They showed mercy, which means they were never in danger. We were never a threat to them. Thexra's colors shifted to worried patterns. The human captain has requested to address this council. Given the circumstances, I believe we should allow it. There were objections, but they were half-hearted. Everyone wanted to hear what the humans would say. Within minutes, the communication channel was established. Captain Taman Park appeared as a holographic projection in the center of the council chamber. He stood calmly, wearing his clean uniform, looking nothing like someone who had just fought and won a major battle. Behind him on the projected image, the bridge of the silent horizon was visible, his crew working at their stations. Members of the Galactic Council, Taman began, his voice clear and steady. I am Captain Taman Park of the United Earth Navy. I'm speaking to you today to clarify what happened and what will happen next. You destroyed a council fleet, an angry voice shouted from the crowd. You have committed an act of war. No, Taman said firmly. Commander Vorath's fleet attacked me first. I was in a neutral zone, invited to diplomatic discussions. Instead, I was surrounded, threatened, and fired upon. Everything I did was self-defense under any reasonable interpretation of law. You used deception, Thexra said. You hid your ship's true capabilities. I used caution, Taman corrected. Earth is new to the galactic community. We didn't know who to trust. The Council ignored our communication attempts for years. When you finally contacted us, it was to demand we surrender our colonies. Forgive us for being careful. He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. You judged us by your standards. You assumed that because we looked primitive, we were weak. You thought our restraint meant we couldn't fight. You were wrong on both counts. Taman gestured, and new holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber. They showed technical specifications, weapon designs, and fleet compositions. The assembled aliens stared at the information with growing alarm. This is what you need to understand about humanity, Taman said. We developed nuclear weapons before we left our planet. We created artificial intelligence while still confined to one world. We built antimatter reactors and quantum computers and genetic engineering before we ever saw another star. We did all this while fighting among ourselves in wars that killed millions. The chamber was absolutely silent now. Every eye, sensor, and awareness focused on the human captain. Earth spent 200 years preparing for space travel. During that time, we didn't just build ships. We built weapons. Every major nation contributed their most destructive technologies to the United Earth Navy. We studied every form of warfare in our history and learned from all of it. Do you know why? No one answered. Taman continued. Because we knew we were entering a galaxy full of species that had been traveling space for thousands of years. Species with more experience, more territory, more resources. We knew we would be vulnerable. So we made sure that even if we couldn't match you in numbers, we could match you in lethality. He brought up another display showing the Silent Horizon's specifications. This ship, the one that defeated your Velcron fleet, is classified as a scout frigate. It's one of our smallest military vessels. We have 200 larger ships, cruisers, battleships, and dreadnoughts, each one more powerful than the Silent Horizon. The implications were staggering. If their smallest military ship could defeat 50 battle cruisers, what could their largest ships do? Jiwan spoke up from her station behind Taman, her voice carrying through the transmission. Our dreadnought-class vessels are equipped with weapons you've never seen. Antimatter missiles that can destroy moon-sized targets. Nanite swarms that disassemble ships at the atomic level. AI-controlled drone fleets that can engage hundreds of enemies simultaneously. Yunwoo added his own contribution. Our defensive technology includes adaptive shields that learn from incoming attacks, point defense systems that can track thousands of targets at once, and armor made from materials that don't exist naturally in this galaxy. Soman's voice was cold and professional. And if absolutely necessary, we have weapons capable of sterilizing entire planets. We call them planet killers. We've never used them and hope we never will. But they exist and they work. The council chamber erupted in frightened conversations. Planet-killing weapons were theoretically possible, but considered too dangerous to develop. The idea that humans had actually built them was terrifying. Taman raised his hand and silence fell again. I'm not telling you this to threaten you. I'm telling you so you understand the truth. Humanity is not weak. We're not prey. We're apex predators who learn to be civilized. We chose peace because it's better for everyone, not because we're incapable of war. Thexra's colors had turned to shades that suggested deep concern. What do you want from us, human? I want the same thing I wanted when I first came here, Taman said. I want our colonies left alone. I want Earth recognized as a sovereign power with full rights and protections. I want the Galactic Council to stop treating us like ignorant children who need to be controlled. And if we refuse? Asked a brave or foolish counselor. Taman's expression hardened. Then you'll face the consequences. The 50 Velcran ships we captured will be studied. Their technology will be reverse engineered. We'll learn from them and improve our own designs. And the next time someone attacks Earth, we'll respond even more decisively. You cannot threaten the entire council, Thexra protested. I'm not threatening anyone, Taman said calmly. I'm explaining reality. Earth has 3 million citizens in those 12 colony systems. We have families, children, scientists working to build better lives. We will not abandon them. Anyone who tries to take those colonies by force will fail. That's not a threat. That's a fact. He leaned forward slightly, his eyes intense. But here's what I'm offering. Earth doesn't want to be your enemy. We want to trade, share knowledge, and work together for mutual benefit. We have technologies you've never seen, medical advances that could help your people, scientific discoveries that could solve problems you've struggled with for centuries. We're willing to cooperate, to be part of this galactic community. The mood in the chamber shifted slightly. The offer of cooperation was unexpected after such a forceful demonstration of power. On one condition, Taman added, you treat us as equals, not as primitives to be controlled or territories to be exploited. 6 months had passed since the battle that changed everything. The Galactic Council had spent weeks in heated debates before finally reaching their decision. In the end, pragmatism won over pride. Earth received full council membership with equal standing. The 12 colony systems remained under human control, their sovereignty officially recognized. The Velcrin ships, after lengthy negotiations, were returned to their owners, though not before human engineers had thoroughly studied every system aboard them. But more than treaties and territorial agreements had changed. The entire power structure of the galaxy had shifted. Taman stood on the bridge of the silent horizon, now recognized as a hero across Earth and respected even by alien species. His ship patrolled the border regions between human and council space, a visible reminder of Earth's military capability. Captain, Jiwon said from her station, we're approaching Way Station 7. They're requesting permission to dock for resupply. Grant it, Taman said, and inform them we're available for any diplomatic consultations they need. Things had changed in unexpected ways. Where before alien ships had avoided human vessels, now they actively sought them out. The silent horizon had become something of a legend, and other species wanted to see it up close. Some came out of curiosity. Others came seeking protection. The galaxy had learned that humanity would defend not only itself but also its allies. 3 months after the Velcron incident, a species called the Morthani had been attacked by raiders. They had sent a desperate plea to Earth, hoping the new council member might help. The silent horizon had been the closest human ship. Taman had responded immediately. The raiders, expecting easy prey, had instead encountered humanity's military efficiency. Within an hour, the raider fleet was disabled and the Morthani colony was safe. Word spread quickly after that. Earth's promise of mutual defense was not empty words. Captain, we have an incoming transmission, someone announced. It's Admiral Minho from Earth Command. Put him through, Taman ordered. The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. Minho Kang looked pleased, which was always a good sign. Captain Park, Minho said, I have news. The Council has formally requested Earth's assistance in forming a new peacekeeping force. They want human ships and crew to help patrol contested regions. Taman raised an eyebrow. They want us to be galactic police? They want us to be partners in maintaining order, Minho corrected. It's a significant gesture. They're acknowledging that our presence makes the galaxy safer. What did you tell them? I told them we'd consider it, Minho replied. But I wanted your input first. You're the one who'll be doing most of the work. Taman thought about it carefully. Peacekeeping meant more responsibility, more danger, and more time away from Earth. But it also meant influence, respect, and the opportunity to shape galactic policy. I think we should do it, he said finally. But on our terms. We choose which missions to accept. We maintain our own command structure, and we get full authority to act as we see fit in emergency situations. Minho smiled. That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say. I'll inform the Council. They'll probably agree. After what you did to the Velcrin fleet, they're not in a position to make demands. The transmission ended, and Taman returned his attention to the view screen. Space looked peaceful out here, stars shining in the eternal darkness, but he knew that peace was fragile, maintained only through strength and vigilance. Captain, Hyunwoo called out, I'm detecting a ship on long-range sensors. It's not broadcasting standard identification codes. Status? Taman asked, immediately alert. Small vessel, possibly a scout. It's maintaining distance but clearly watching us. Let me guess, Soman said with a slight smile. Another species that wants to see the famous silent horizon. She was probably right. In the months since the battle, Dozens of alien ships had approached just to observe the human vessel. Some were intelligence gathering. Others were simply curious. A few had been potential recruits wanting to serve aboard human ships. That was perhaps the most surprising development. Young aliens from various species had started applying to join the United Earth Navy. They wanted to learn human tactics, experience human technology, and be part of something that had changed the galaxy. Earth Command had been cautious at first, but eventually accepted a few alien recruits on a trial basis. If it worked, it could lead to something unprecedented, a truly multi-species military force united under human leadership. Should we hail them? Jiwan asked. No, Taman said. Let them watch. We have nothing to hide. The silent horizon continued its patrol route, the mysterious observer ship following at a respectful distance. It was a new normal that Taman was still getting used to. Earth was no longer ignored or dismissed. They were watched, studied, and sometimes feared. A message came through from one of the human colonies in the sector. Governor Youngjin Han wanted to express his gratitude for the patrol presence. Life in the colonies had become significantly safer with Earth's military actively protecting them. Send him our regards, Taman told Jiwan, and let him know we'll be conducting a security inspection next week. Yes, Captain. Taman walked to the viewport and looked out at the stars. He thought about how much had changed since that day 6 months ago, when he had been summoned to the council. He had been nervous then, unsure how to face dozens of alien species who viewed humans as primitive newcomers. Now, those same aliens treated Earth with respect. Some with admiration, others with caution, but always with respect. The Velkrans, once so arrogant, now gave human ships wide berth. Commander Vorath had been demoted and reassigned to a remote sector, a living reminder of what happened when you underestimated humanity. Counselor Thexra had become something of an ally. The crystalline being had recognized early on that cooperation with Earth was more valuable than conflict. Thexra now regularly consulted with human representatives on council matters. Other species had learned similar lessons. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers. Having humanity as a friend was better than having them as an enemy. Captain, Soman said, the observer ship is moving away. They're jumping to FTL. Let them go, Taman said. They've seen what they came to see. He returned to his command chair and reviewed the daily reports. Colony production was up. Trade agreements were being finalized with 3 new species. Earth shipyards were working at full capacity, building more vessels to meet the growing demand for human technology. It was remarkable how quickly things had changed. Earth had gone from being ignored to being indispensable in less than a year. All because one ship had refused to back down when threatened. Captain, Hyunwoo said, breaking into his thoughts, I've completed my analysis of the new reactor designs. The improvements we learned from studying the Velkran ships have increased our efficiency by 18%. Good work, Taman said. Send the data to Earth Command. They'll want to implement it across the fleet. That was another change. Humanity was no longer just defending itself. It was innovating, improving and advancing faster than any other species could track. The combination of human ingenuity and access to alien technology was producing results that frightened some council members, but they couldn't stop it. The agreement was clear. Earth had full rights to study captured vessels and develop new technologies. As long as humanity didn't use those technologies for unprovoked aggression, the council had no grounds to object. A new transmission came through, this time from a merchant vessel requesting escort through a dangerous region. Pirates had been active in that sector recently. Plot a course, Taman ordered. Let's make sure they get where they're going safely. The silent horizon altered its trajectory, moving to intercept the merchant ship. This was the new reality. Humanity protecting others, maintaining order, and proving that strength could be used for good rather than just destruction. G1 looked back at Taman with a slight smile. Did you ever imagine things would turn out like this, Captain? Taman thought about the question. 6 months ago, he had been facing 50 enemy battlecruisers, uncertain if he would survive the day. Now he was respected across the galaxy, his ship sought after for protection and partnership. No, he admitted, I thought we'd be fighting for survival for years. I never expected the galaxy to change so quickly. We scared them, Somin said bluntly. We showed them something they'd never seen before. A species that was powerful but also reasonable, deadly but also merciful. They didn't know how to deal with that. She was right. The galaxy had been divided into two types of species for thousands of years. The strong who dominated and the weak who submitted. Humanity fit neither category. They were strong enough to resist domination, but wise enough to seek cooperation instead of conquest. It was a combination that had redefined galactic politics. "Captain," G1 announced, "we've reached the merchant vessel. They're signaling their thanks." "Inform them we'll escort them to their destination," Taman said. Standard protective formation. The Silent Horizon took up position alongside the merchant ship, its weapons ready to defend against any threats. The merchant captain, a tentacled alien named Gorvin, sent a message of gratitude. He had heard stories about the human warship and was relieved to have its protection.